Hey, welcome. Every single day, thousands of planes are up there, crisscrossing the sky. And every one of those journeys, it doesn't start with the roar of an engine. It starts with a document, a digital blueprint, really, that tells the entire air traffic system, hey, here I am, this is what I'm flying, and this is exactly where I'm going. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify the pilot's flight plan.
So, let me just ask you, what do you think is the absolute first, most critical thing a pilot does to make sure a flight is safe? Is it kicking the tires, checking the weather?
Well, yeah, it's all of those things, but they're all part of a much bigger process. And it happens long, long before the engine even thinks about turning over. It all starts with the plan. So here's our flight plan for this little explainer. First, we'll cover the basics, the groundwork of safety. Then, we'll build our digital hangar and get our plane ready. After that, we'll chart the course, run all the numbers, and finally, do that one last check before hitting the big button.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Why even bother filing a flight plan? I mean, it might seem like a bunch of digital paperwork, right? But it's so much more than that. It's a pilot's #1 communication tool. It's their ultimate safety net. It's basically a declaration to the entire system of what you intend to do. And the difference between having a plan and not having one, it's night and day. With a filed plan, especially an IFR or instrument flight rules plan, you're a known player to air traffic control. They help you, they give you efficient routes, they keep you safe. Without a plan, you're kind of like a ghost. And here's the big one. If something goes wrong, a filed plan tells search and rescue exactly where to start looking. Without it, they're literally just guessing. Okay, so let's see how this whole thing gets built. Before a pilot can even think about where they're going, they have to tell the system what they're flying. And that means creating a really detailed digital profile of their specific airplane. So, using apps like ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot, pilots punch in all these key details. You've got the tail number, that's basically the plane's license plate. The aircraft type, so ATC knows what they're dealing with. The performance profile, how fast it goes, how much fuel it burns. And these equipment codes are super important. They tell the system if the plane has GPS, if it has modern tracking equipment, all that stuff. It's like a complete digital resume for the airplane. And here's a little real-world detail that is so important. Pilots have to put in their contact info. This quote from a ForeFlight instructor just nails why it matters. If there's a problem with your flight plan, guess what? ATC is going to call you directly. So you better make sure it's the phone that's with you in the cockpit, not the one you left sitting on your desk. All right, now we get to the heart of it. The route. This is where the pilot literally draws the line on the map, telling ATC the exact path they plan to fly from A to B. The basics are pretty simple, right? You put in your origin and your destination. But it's all the little points in between, the waypoints, that really define the route. And modern software makes this so cool. Pilots can see routes that ATC clears all the time, or they can literally just grab the line on the map and drag it around. It's a technique called rubber banding to avoid weather or certain airspace. And this quote just perfectly illustrates a real-world problem. You can't just draw a straight line and call it a day. As this corporate pilot explains, you might accidentally plot a course straight through, say, the White Sands Missile Range. The software's smart, it'll warn you, but you, the pilot, have to be smart enough to actually route around it because ATC is never ever going to clear you through there. You know, a flight plan is so much more than just a line on a map. It's really a complex math problem that proves the flight is not just possible, but that it's safe. Welcome to the numbers game: fuel, weight, and performance. Take a look at this number from a corporate jet's flight plan. That's over 8,000 pounds of fuel. And that is not a guess. That is a precise calculation. The software figures out exactly how much fuel is needed for taxiing on the ground, for the trip itself, for flying to a backup airport if needed, plus a mandatory 45-minute reserve. Every single drop is accounted for. And performance isn't just about going fast. It's about safety limits. For this specific flight, on this day, with this weather, on this runway, the software calculated the absolute max takeoff weight at 28,000 pounds. If that plane were even 1 pound heavier, it wouldn't be safe to take off.
So the bottom line is, pilots have to account for every single pound. The weight of the plane itself, the pilots, every passenger, every suitcase. All of that data gets crunched to figure out not just the total weight, but the center of gravity. You have to make sure the plane is balanced, not too nose heavy, not too tail heavy, so it flies predictably and safely.
Okay, the route is planned,
The numbers have been crunched, we're almost ready. Now the pilot has to do a few last critical steps before that plan becomes official and they can head out to the airplane.
Right, the last thing you do before you file is get a full, comprehensive weather briefing. Using that same software, pilots pull an official legal briefing. It's got everything: current weather, forecasted weather, any notices about airport closures, those are called NOTAMs, and any temporary flight restrictions, which might pop up for things like a presidential visit or a big sporting event.
Now, if you're flying VFR or visual flight rules, the plan is basically a search and rescue tool. The pilot has to call up to activate it right before takeoff, and that starts a sort of timer. And then, this is key, they have to remember to call and close the plan when they land, because if they forget, that timer runs out and a search party gets sent out.
But for most corporate and airline pilots, the plan is almost always IFR, Instrument Flight Rules. And this isn't just for safety, it's mandatory. Filing IFR makes you an active part of the air traffic control system. ATC uses your plan to keep you separated from other planes and to manage the flow of traffic all across the country.
And then, after all the planning, all the checking, all the briefing, it all comes down to this one moment. The pilot hits one button: file. And just like that, the plan gets zapped into the national airspace system. It goes from being a draft to an official declared intention to fly.
And here's a fantastic piece of advice, mostly for all the flight simulator fans out there. It's tempting to build a super realistic flight plan for your home simulator and then hit file. But you gotta remember, that plan goes into the real live ATC system, and it causes a ton of confusion for the actual controllers. So the rule is simple: don't hit the file button unless you're actually in an airplane ready to fly.
So there you have it. The plan is this perfect, carefully crafted blueprint for a flight. It's filed, it's in the system, everything's perfect. But what happens when the real world, with its pop-up thunderstorms and last-minute reroutes, what happens when that real world doesn't follow the plan? Well, that's where the planning ends, and the real art of flying begins.